I'm not a fan of pre-made adventures. GameMasters here, and back in the day, the early 1980 something. Yeah, I did love modules, and they were fitting for exactly how we played at the time. But when the Forgotten Realms box set came out in 1987, my view on modules drastically changed. That box set gave me a lot of setting lore, town locations, maps, and just all-around knowledge to craft up my own adventures in that setting. From that point forward, I pretty much left modules behind. I've had several people ask me how I go about creating adventures. What do I do to prep? How do I make it fun for the players? And my answer is, I sandbox it. And today I want to share with you exactly how I go about making adventures and even campaigns using my various sandbox methods. First, a little backstory to kind of frame why I specifically have leaned away from pre-made adventures. In 2014, when 5th edition was brand spanking new, we got Lost Mine of Phandelver. In that module adventure, the players were tasked with traveling to the town of Phandalin, eradicating goblins, bandits, and other villainy, and finally to locate a lost mine. While it was an adventure set for first level characters, my players wanted to do things that the adventure never planned to have happen. They wanted to explore more of the Forgotten Realms. One even wanted to travel to Karatur, 1,000 miles east of Phandalin. I've never been one to just flat out tell a player no to something that they want to do in-game, but this all just kind of reinforced my disliking of pre-made adventures. There is one exception, and that is the, I guess you would call it a mini-adventure in Curse of Strahd called Death House. And I run this one to this day as an introductory adventure pretty much as it was originally written, but only because it's got kind of one of those built-in the house and its surrounding area is all you're allowed to explore kind of mechanic built in, with it kind of being in Ravenloft and all. Simply put, the mists are going to keep the players from leaving. But aside from that, I'm very much a fan of sandbox adventures, and that is allowing the players to dictate where they go and what they do and tell a story that they want to tell. Now, I will admit that there are some times that as a DM, you need to railroad your players in a specific direction. But that's a tactic that should be used somewhat sparingly and only when it makes sense. For example, if the player chooses to not take a rest and instead push on into the cavern where you know a major battle is going to take place, you may choose to toss in some divine intervention and encourage them to rest first. And this isn't taking away player agency. It's simply preventing the night's game session from ending early because everyone died. Because, hey, sometimes new players are simply unfamiliar with how things work and aren't even aware that resting before a major battle is even an option. To that end, I want to give you some tips and strategies on how you can manage sandbox adventures and be able to come up with things on the fly so that your home games can be dynamic, ever-changing, and allow for really an immersive player agency, all with little to no prep work on your part. Jumping into it. Running a sandbox game doesn't mean chaos. Instead, it means that the structure is going to be invisible to the players. You won't have to prep every single road. You don't have to prep every single encounter, every location, item, or even NPC. Instead, what you need is a toolkit so that when you need to improvise, you can do so with confidence and spontaneity. My tools never really had names, so I kind of made some up for this specific video, but if you feel that there's something more fitting to call each one of them, let me know and feel free to use that, but let me know down in the comments. The first tool is what I call the situation, not story. Remember, it's the player's task to create the story, not yours. If you, as a DM, are wanting to tell a story in which there is little deviation, then go ahead and write it, get it published, and tell us once it's hit the top 10 bestsellers. If, instead, you want to have the players be tasked to tell the story, then what you want to do is instead of plotting a story, you need to instead set up situations. The formula that I use for this is location plus conflict plus motivated NPCs. Look at it from the view of a TV show. The characters are there. Each one has their own motivations for the things that they do, and but then they're also going to react to the given situation. Likewise, so should your players. Toss out a place that things will happen, a minor or even possibly a major conflict, and NPCs that need it resolved, and let your players take it from there. For example, in the next town, the mayor is secretly paying bandits to harass merchants. That's the situation. Players at that point have the freedom to side with the mayor, to side with the merchants, or exploit both sides, or simply burn the whole thing down. Regardless of what they choose to do, you have lots of moving parts that you can work with. Remember, it's location plus conflict plus motivated NPCs. The second tool is what I call the three roads. This is going to give the players a seemingly endless amount of choices, but the reality is you only need to provide to them 3 solid choices at a time. The formula here is really simple. Give them 3 leads, then let them choose which one, and expand only on the choice that they followed. I'll use the example, that original example of Phandalin, that adventure. Instead of prepping the entire Sword Coast, give them 3 hooks, the caves, exploring the town, or a nearby haunted wood. If they choose the caves, expand that, and let the town and haunted woods get fleshed out later. Of course, if they insist on a 4th option, that's fine, go ahead and run with that. But once you've got all of the tools that I'm presenting today, you're going to find that you have a firm grasp on how to let all of that unfold and happen. The third tool is super fun. We call it the NPC Triangle. In this, the characters make the world come alive, but the triangles create the drama. And this is super easy to execute. Connect 3 NPCs via tension. You've got a mayor, a captain of the guard, and a bandit. The mayor wants merchants to pay higher taxes. The captain wants to thwart the bandit. And the bandit stands to profit provided that he isn't caught. Drop that kind of triangle into almost any given city, town, or area, and your players will expand their story just by talking with various NPCs. Perhaps the characters find out that the guard knows nothing about the team-up between the mayor and the bandit. And perhaps the mayor has no clue that the bandit and the guard are brothers, and they are gathering evidence to put away the crooked mayor. You can even make it a bit more interesting if you create pockets of NPC triangles that can kind of interweave. Now, granted, this is going to take up a little bit more prep time, but the payoff is a table full of drama and excitement. The fourth tool is what I call 5x5. Consider your adventure or campaign like a 5x5 table. Each row is its own category. Locations, villains, rumors, events, and treasures. Fill in each row with 5 entries. Now you have 25 pieces of content that you can mix and match endlessly. This is, for those of you that watch, kind of a basic version of my adventure idea of the day calendar that I've been doing every day this year so far. That one, however, is a 20 by 20 grid. But regardless, you can make yours whatever size you want. But the function is basically the same. Should the players want to quest the east, southwest, north, it doesn't matter. Simply grab a combination that fits. You don't even have to use all 5 category choices. You can, but you don't have to. You just want to use just 3, then grab just 3. Take, take events selection, a rumor selection, and a treasure selection, and then stitch those into a new adventure on the fly. Just rinse and repeat. The fifth tool that I use is what we can call yes, but. Players love player agency. Sandbox games thrive on player agency, but that doesn't mean that you have to say yes to everything that they want. You do need to have boundaries, and this is a tool that I was alluding to earlier when we were talking about the structure, how it was going to be invisible to the players. For this, you want to take what they want and allow them to have it, but essentially, you want to take the yes, add a twist, plus a consequence. For example, in my first, in that 5th edition adventure, the Lost Mine of Phandelver, one of my players wanted to go to Car Tour. I told him, well, sure, you're going to need to have a lot of horses, a lot of provisions for both the horses and your party, and you also need to understand that you're going to be traveling into territory that's likely going to be a challenge for an inexperienced adventurer. Now, this was a player that had been playing since the advanced D&D days, so for a long time, and while that player had loads of experience playing, their character was just level 1, and suddenly their wild idea to go to Karatur became an adventure hook that they had to resolve, or in this guy's case, he just chose to completely abandon it altogether. The sixth tool is Clockwork. Basically, you'll be keeping a timeline going on behind the scenes, where at a certain point, something is going to happen regardless if the characters are right there or not. And this can easily tie into our fourth tool, the 5x5, under the events column. For example, you as the DM know that there's a necromancer pulling some strings, and that in 7 days game time, she will complete a ritual. But the players and their characters have no idea about this unless they really dig deep, pay attention, and investigate the town and the NPCs. Each day, the characters will notice a new sign of something sinister. It might be a heavy dark cloud as they roll into town on day 1, missing townfolk on day 2, perhaps some dead livestock on day 3. The point here is the world marches forward. Time moves forward. This keeps the world dynamic and moving without you forcing players to do things. The last tool is my most important, and I simply call it reskinning. You don't need to prepare for 400 unique encounters. Simply take what you already know and reskin it. In our first adventure, we went to Phandalin. Goblins were the core monster. Now you're going to a new town. This time it's in a desert. Okay, no problem. New monsters? Great, no problem. Reskin the goblins to be desert raiders. Reskin the cave to be a lost oasis. Yeah, you're going to want to do some stuff to kind of pretty things up, so it's not the exact same reason that the characters are searching for the lost oasis, but as they were searching for the cave in Phandalin. But there's no need to reinvent the wheel here. Given if you haven't run many games, you are going to be kind of new to do the whole thing, and you're likely not going to have a library of adventures to choose from. But if you use that 5x5 method, the mix and match, you've got an instant 25 options right there that you can in turn reskin and reuse anytime you want. Running a sandbox adventure doesn't mean that you, as the DM, are giving up control. You're still there to moderate and describe scenes, but you're also there to create a framework where your players can see that their world is alive and immersive, dynamic and ever-moving, and most importantly, that they have the freedom to push it in almost any direction. Of course, don't be hesitant to remind them that poking the lich with a stick when they're at level 1, or jumping into an active volcano, is likely going to end their story real quick. But with a few simple tools and a mindset of being flexible, you'll find that the burden of prep really shrinks and your game becomes more exciting for you as well as for your players. And I mean, that's kind of really the whole point, isn't it? Let me pose this question. Before you watch this video, how often have you actually run sandbox adventures, or are you more of a pre-made adventure / module kind of DM? How confident are you at coming up with things on the fly for sandbox sessions? Have the tools given here today helped you to not be quite so hesitant in allowing players to go off the map, so to speak? Do you have any additional tools that you feel would help others, specifically in a sandbox situation? Let's keep that conversation going down in the comments, and until next our paths cross, may you discover that the cat wasn't recently just digging in your sandbox, if you catch my drift.